The Bureau has existed for decades now, and yet there is still so much about the world that we don't understand. Case in point, the oldest house itself. Our very own headquarters, the building that I'm filming this in right now. It feels so intimately familiar to us, and yet there's still so much about it that we just don't understand. Case in point, there's this theory that's been circulating around the Bureau recently, stating that the oldest house may be, or rather, may have once been a tree. Now, I know that sounds absurd, but just stick with me here on this one. There is actual evidence to back this up, however absurd it may sound. Is that good? Yeah, that seems to be good. Anyways, sorry for that. It's just that I'm not filming with my usual crew today because they are not here right now because of a little accident that happened in the investigation sector. But we don't need to go into that right now. The oldest house. So this theory really got started with the board themselves. That ever enigmatic conglomerate of extra-dimensional entities that leads and controls the Bureau. It all started when they communicated with our director, our newest director, Jessie Faden, through the hotline, and they told her that the oldest house grew from the foundation, that it was planted and that it grew from the foundation like a tree. And again, this is the board we're talking about here. This isn't some fallible group of humans, no. This is the board, a massive, unknowable conglomerate of extra-dimensional, interdimensional, however else you want to describe them, entities that surely would know more about the oldest house and the paranatural than us. So, simply put, if they say that the oldest house grew from the foundation, then I, for one, am tempted to believe them. And speaking of the foundation, there is so much more evidence for this theory within the foundation itself. Let's start at the beginning. So, basically everyone who's ever gone into the foundation has noted that tree imagery can be found all throughout it, whether it's carved or painted onto the walls, which itself, if not outright damning, is strange and noteworthy. But it goes deeper than that. So, the foundation. We got its name not from the Bureau, but from the board, which again are a conglomerate of extra-dimensional entities that surely would know more about the paranatural than us. So this name, the foundation, is significant. Why is it significant though? So, okay, the foundation is what the oldest house, which is likely a tree, rests upon. Got that? Yeah, okay. So, in Kabbalah, an esoteric tradition within Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalistic tree of life rests upon Yesod, the foundation. The foundation is the name of what both the Kabbalistic tree of life and the oldest house rests upon. This isn't the only similarity between the two foundations, the foundation and Yesod, however. There's more. So in Kabbalah, Yesod is the border between the spiritual and the physical, between abstraction and physical reality. The foundation of the oldest house also serves a similar function. Within the foundation, there is this structure called the nail. Again, the name is taken from the board, not created by the Bureau. The nail, as was discovered during a recent catastrophe here at the Bureau, it was discovered that this nail is what prevents the astral plane from leaking in to the foundation, and from the foundation into the oldest house, and from the oldest house into Earth. So, the foundation in both Kabbalah and the oldest house acts as a barrier between the physical and the more abstract. You know, it really makes you think. Kabbalah means, or rather the word that Kabbalah comes from, means to receive. Kabbalah is therefore often described as the received tradition. But received from what? From who? These are questions that I unfortunately can't really answer in this little presentation here. But it certainly is interesting and certainly makes you think about what kind of contact early humans might have had with the paranatural and with paranatural entities. Again, I can't really fully answer all the questions related to that here, but it certainly is interesting nonetheless. What is everything good? Is everything good? Okay, good. Sorry about that again. There is more evidence to this theory, however. So, as we've all had to deal with, the oldest house has somewhat of a tendency to open portals to other dimensions on occasion. It's happened at the most inconvenient of times, and I'm sure we've all had to deal with it at one point or another in our career here at the Bureau. So, the Bureau has a known habit of creating portals to other worlds. Sometimes these portals can last seemingly indefinitely, and at other times they seem more temporary, which is very frustrating for us here at the research sector. We don't get a chance to go in there and explore, or if we do, we go in and then the portal closes before we can come back. But we don't need to go into that right now. So, the oldest house has a tendency of forming portals to other dimensions. Got that? Okay. People have noted that the oldest house's tendency to form portals to other dimensions seemingly at random, such as the black rock quarry where we collect all of our black rock that we use in the containment of altered items and objects of power, is very similar to the tales and stories of Yggdrasil, the world tree from Norse mythology, upon which all of the 9 worlds sit. Climbing up the world tree allows creatures to traverse from one world to another. Again, it's not damning evidence, but it certainly is interesting and noteworthy. And again, makes you think about what kind of contact early humans had with the paranatural and paranatural entities. Is it possible that people from across history encountered the oldest house? Could there be other structures, such as the oldest house, elsewhere in other places across the world? These are questions that, again, are a little outside the scope of this little presentation here, but it is interesting nonetheless, and something that we as researchers should look into. There is yet another piece of evidence to this theory. So, when the Bureau first discovered the oldest house, before it was stabilized and before we made it our headquarters, the oldest house had a rather annoying and potentially fatal habit of shifting. That's what we called it, shifting. The walls, rooms, hallways, sometimes even entire floors would randomly shift, making traversing the oldest house a rather dangerous endeavor, because you could be walking down a hallway and then suddenly a wall could appear right where you were standing and it could potentially kill you, but it's been fully stabilized now. But what if these shifts, the oldest house randomly changing at a moment's notice, was the oldest house growing like a tree? Again, we unfortunately aren't really able to research this because that would involve destabilizing the oldest house, and obviously this is the Bureau's headquarters. Hundreds of people work here. That just wouldn't be possible. And even then, it would be very difficult to do. But it is interesting to think about, even if we can't study it necessarily and come to a strong conclusion about it. You know, it really makes you think. New York, before the city was built, was a forest. So if the oldest house was once a tree and it is now an office building, does that mean that the oldest house can change its shape? Does the oldest house change its form to match with its surroundings? Again, unfortunately, we can't really come to a conclusion on that question because, well, the Bureau discovered the oldest house rather recently, and time travel is impossible at the moment, so we can't really go back in time to see what the oldest house would have been like that far back. It is unfortunate that there's still so much that we don't understand and so much that we can't properly research yet. That's the important part. Yet. Who knows? If we here at the Bureau continue to work hard and pursue these very difficult, seemingly impossible questions, then who knows? Maybe one day, one of us will make a massive breakthrough that allows us to answer so many of the questions about the oldest house and the paranatural in general that are still lingering. Well, that's why you're here at the Bureau, of course, and that's why I'm here. So don't let me waste any more of your time. Let's get back to work.